Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow class with me, Oceana. In today's episode, of course, we have landed in week 4 of our deep dive into the forward folds of yoga. That means that this is an advanced sequence and it is not particularly suitable for anyone who is a beginner or improver. I would suggest that you want to have had probably around 12 months of practice underneath your belt in order to practice this class. If that's not the case, then please feel free to revisit one of the previous 3 weeks where I covered a beginner-friendly sequence, an improver class, as well as an intermediate class. Those will be more suitable, and I would also suggest will make you feel less disheartened if you can't do one of those poses. In this particular class, of course, if you're an intermediate student and you're sort of challenging yourself here, then I just want you to note at the beginning of class that I do expect you to know some basic yoga postures off by name. I'll expect you to know how to get into and out of them. I'll expect you to know what a vinyasa is, how to do it, how to modify it. And we will predominantly be working with an active range of motion technique that is referred to as compression. So literally compressing our upper body to our lower limbs by using the muscles in the front of the body to pull those two, the legs, towards the torso. And this is a technique that we predominantly use in order to build strength, in order to press up into our inversions. So our headstand, forearm stand, handstand. And also it is a useful technique to learn how to float through your practice when you jump forward or you jump back or through. So again, it's a really useful technique and applies to a lot of aspects of very advanced yoga practice. Now, if you're new to compression training and sort of skill drills, then I would suggest that you grab yourself something that will allow you to raise the level of your hands, which makes them slightly easier. So of course, helpful to have 2 yoga bricks at hand. If you do not have those, then please feel free to grab yourself a sort of thicker hardback book that feels really sturdy and supportive. In my case, I've grabbed Sweet Nothings by Marlene Dumas, who's an amazing fine artist. And if you wanted to, grab yourself something equally delicious. And then we will be starting at the top of our mat in mountain pose Tadasana. So join me there when you're ready, yogi. Once you find your way to the front of your mat, stand with your feet hip distance, allowing everything below your waist to ground down into the floor and everything above the waist to have a gentle lift towards the ceiling, reaching and lengthening through the crown of the head. The shoulders are soft. And if you have an Ujjayi pranayama breathing practice where you're able to restrict the back of the throat, then engage that here. Otherwise, see if you can continuously connect back to your natural breath cycle while we practice. And from here, we'll move through a few rounds of Sun Salutation B, Surya Namaskar B. So as you inhale, deeply bend your knees coming into chair pose, Utkatasana, sweep the arms up and overhead and spin the pinky fingers in towards one another. As you exhale, fold back into the legs, Uttanasana. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift, and exhale to plant the hands either side of your feet. Here as you exhale, we're going to either walk, step or jump the feet back into Chaturanga. As you inhale, coming into upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, lift through the center of your chest and exhale all the way back into downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Spin the inner elbows forward, pressing down through the index finger and thumb, reaching the sitting bones high. Bring the big toes to touch at the back of the mat as you inhale, lift the right leg all the way up and back into 3-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the right knee into the chest for Tiger's Curl and then step or shimmy the foot forward. Feet hip distance here, the back heel spins down as you inhale into Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. Knit the front ribs together, stay for your final breath. As you exhale, swim the hands to the floor and frame your front foot, back toes tuck under, make your way into a high plank. Exhale to lower down in slow motion, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale takes you into upward facing dog. Exhale, draws the sitting bones up and back to downward facing dog. Bring the big toes to touch at the back of the mat as you inhale, left leg lifts, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose for tiger's curl. Step or shimmy the foot forward, feet hip distance, back heel spins down, pressing into the outer edge of your back foot as you inhale. Sweep the arms up into warrior one on the second side. Exhale, float the hands down to frame the front foot. Step it back to a high plank as you inhale. Exhale, come down through chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. And exhale to come back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Soften the knees, take your gaze forward towards the hands as you exhale, walk, step or jump the feet forward. Inhale to lengthen the spine halfway. Exhale to fold back in. With soft knees as you inhale, sweep the arms all the way up and overhead. Come into just a gentle back bend, lifting through the center of the chest. And exhale the hands down by your side in mountain pose. Gather your breath just for a brief moment. From here, as you inhale, deep bend in the knees, chair pose, sitting bones drawing down and back. Exhale to fold all the way down into the legs for Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen the spine halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to plant the hands down either side of your feet. From here, on your next exhalation, walking, stepping, or jumping the feet back into chaturanga. Inhale takes you into your upward facing dog, and exhale takes you all the way back to downward facing dog for our second round. Big toes touch. As you inhale, right leg lifts up and back. Exhale, draws the right knee into the nose for tiger's curl. And then step or shimmy the foot forward, feet hip distance. Inhale, warrior one. And exhale, float the hands down to frame the front foot. Tuck under the back toes, step back into your high plank. Inhale. Exhale to lower down, chaturanga. Inhale into your upward facing dog. Exhale takes you back to downward facing dog. Big toes touching at the back. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, draw the left knee forward towards the nose. Step the foot between the hands. Back heel spins down. Inhale, warrior one, second side. Exhale to frame your front foot. Step your way all the way back into a high plank as you inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale all the way back to downward facing dog. Big toes touching at the back. Bending the knees deeply, either walking, stepping, or jumping the feet forward towards the hands as you exhale. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale. Exhale, fold back into your legs. Deep bend in the knees as you inhale, the arms lift all the way up and overhead, sitting bones down and back for chair pose. And exhale to swim your way to the top for Tadasana, mountain pose. Again, allow your breath to gather just for this brief moment. As you inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead, lift the center of the chest into just a gentle arch of the spine. As you exhale, lead with your chest coming forward first to fold all the way back down into the legs. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale. Exhale to plant the hands either side of the feet. And from here, step your left foot to the back of the mat. Again, you want feet about hip distance here. And if you do have your bricks, even if you're super flexible and pyramid pose is really easy for you, we're going to do something a little bit more active here that I would encourage you to actually use your bricks if you've got them at hand. So bricks on the highest setting. From here, we're drawing the sitting bones all the way back until we start to straighten the front leg, really pressing through the front big toe and actively drawing our right hip back and left hip is slightly rolling forward. Now, Option 1, to stay here. Option 2, see if you can lift the toes towards your face, maybe even float the entire right heel off the ground. And if you floated the heel, then stay for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the heel all the way to the floor. Remove your bricks. And from here, deeply bend your front knee as you inhale, come all the way up into a high lunge, lifting through the fingertips. Spin the pinky fingers in. See if you can square the hips towards the front of the mat. Maybe a little bend on the back knee so that you can untuck or to remove a little bit of the curve of your lower back. And as you exhale here, gradually bring your back knee to the floor gently, untuck the back toes, interlace the hands behind your back as you inhale, reach the chest up towards the ceiling, lifting into a gentle arch. As you exhale, allow the hips to sink a little bit forward and down. On your next inhale, bring your belly all the way forward onto your front thigh. As you exhale, draw your sitting bones back, maybe lifting the front toes towards your face for an unsupported version of half splits, Ardha Hanumanasana. On the inhale, rebend the front knee, release your hands to the inside of your front foot. Bring your back foot behind the back knee for a low Parshvakonasana, low extended side angle pose. You can bring right hand to the inside of the right foot, left arm reaching up and overhead. If you wanted to go a little bit further here, top hand comes behind the back. You see if you can shimmy the right arm underneath your front thigh and then clasp the fingertips behind you. Still spinning the chest and the top shoulder open towards the ceiling here, lifting through the center of the chest for our last round of breath. And on an exhale, release the hands to the mat. Walk your way to the back of the mat. At the same time, straighten your front foot and make sure that the outer edge of your front foot is parallel to the front of the mat. Option 1 here, to have the left arm directly under your left shoulder, right arm reaching up and overhead to the back of the mat. Option 2, to go a little bit deeper into this back bend, you could bring your left hand to the left heel, reach the right arm overhead, pressing the hips forward, lifting through the center of the chest for an asymmetrical camel pose. Use your next inhale and your top arm to bring yourself into an upright position. From here, turn your front toes to point up towards the ceiling. Bring your sitting bones onto your back heel. So you're in a sort of half squat position, or half kneeling position, I should say. Right arm reaches around the back for the opposite hip, left arm reaching up towards the ceiling to lengthen left side of the waist. As you exhale, reach the left arm towards the outer edge of your front foot, and then see if you can spin the chest open towards the ceiling for a variation of Janu Shirshasana into a slight twist. And as you inhale, gently release your left hand and the right hand, and then bring both knees together in a kneeling position in the center of your mat. Tuck the toes under, plant the hands at the front. Exhale all the way into your downward facing dog. Now either stay here for a rest, or if you wish to move a little bit more, come forward into high plank as you inhale. Exhale to lower down into Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale into your upward facing dog, and exhale takes you all the way back into your downward facing dog. Gently shifting your gaze forward towards the hands, bend the knees deeply. On your exhalation, walking, stepping or jumping the feet forward. Inhale to lift the spine halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold into your legs, Uttanasana. Deep bend in the knees as you inhale, sweep the arms all the way up and overhead, finding your chair pose, Utkatasana. And exhale to swim your way back to the top to mountain pose, Tadasana. Let the inhale float the arms up, arching the spine into just a gentle back bend. As you exhale, leading forward with the center of your chest to fold back into the legs, Uttanasana. As you inhale, lift the chest. From here, we're going to step the right foot to the back of the mat. Again, we're preparing for pyramid pose, so feet about hip distance. And if the bricks are helpful, then you can again use the bricks. Of course, you can do all of this with the hands on the floor as well. From here, hands on top of the bricks. If you're using the bricks, feel free to use a lower setting as well, your choice. Frame the front foot with your hands either way. As you exhale, draw the left hip back in space until you start to straighten the front leg. You're still maintaining a long spine, so crown of the head is reaching forward. And again, if you're going for this active version, then you can lift your front toes towards your face to begin with. Maybe you're even able to lift the entire foot off the floor, and then we stay for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the foot. Bend your front knee to remove the bricks. As you inhale, come into your high lunge. Square the hips towards the front of the mat. You can have a little bend on your back knee to ease out of your low back. As you exhale, very gently release your back knee to the floor and untuck your back toes. Interlace the hands the unusual way behind your back. As you inhale, arch the chest up towards the chin, reaching the fingertips down and back. As you exhale, bring your hips forward and down for a brief moment. Let the inhale float your belly forward onto your front thigh. As you exhale, hips drawing all the way back, maybe lifting the front toes in this unsupported half splits variation. Rebend the front knee as you exhale, bring the hands to the inside of your left foot. And again, spin the right foot behind the back knee. Left hand stays to the inside of the front foot. Right arm can reach up and overhead for this low Parsvakonasana variation, our low extended side angle. If you wanted to, the hands bind behind your back again. If you did that on the first round, seeing if you can keep the body fairly balanced here, spinning the center of the chest open, lifting through that right shoulder, maybe seeing if the gaze can travel up towards the ceiling comfortably. And gently, as you exhale, release that bind. Walk the hands to the back of the mat. Straighten your left leg at the same time. Bring the outer edge of your left foot parallel to the front of the mat. Either here, having right hand under the right shoulder, left arm reaching up and overhead. Or maybe, if it's easily accessible, right hand comes to the back heel, lifting all the way to over the left edge of your mat, into an asymmetrical camel pose. You're pressing the hips and the chest upwards and seeing if you can stay for another few rounds of breath to find your natural breath rhythm. Gently use the top arm and your next inhale to bring yourself all the way upright. Plant the hands in front of you so that you can lower your sitting bones onto the back heel. The left toes are reaching up towards the ceiling, so we're preparing for our Janushirshasana. Left hand goes behind the back, right arm reaches all the way forward and across towards the outer edge of your front foot into that twist, and then seeing if we can draw the center of the chest open, twisting in the opposite direction to our low extended side angle pose that we did earlier. Again, if you can, maybe lifting the gaze briefly, and then releasing the hands, bringing the knees together in a kneeling position. I'm going to spin myself around to face you here. We will be doing a little bit of core work here. So we'll start with Lolasana, pendulum pose. So if you do have two bricks, they're really handy to have either side of your thighs here. Of course, you could be doing all of this with simply the hands on the floor. And if it's too much for your wrist joint, you can always use your fists to the floor or on top of the bricks instead, which works just as well. So we'll find our hands either on the floor or the bricks. bringing our shoulders forward so that we find our chaturanga position. We're able to open the chest and the collarbones, drawing the shoulder blades down into a neutral position, and then we press into our hands to see if we can float the knees into our chest. Maybe we're able to lift a little bit higher, really extending through the arms and pressing the floor away. We stay here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release your knees down very gently. And on this second time that we come into Lolasana, feel free to lift one foot or both at the same time. If you have a very advanced practice, you'll want to shift your weight a little bit forward as if you were doing almost a crow pose. So once you're ready, you've gathered your breath, bring the hands back onto the floor or bricks, pressing down. Bend your elbows to find your chaturanga neutral shoulder position. Then press the floor away with your hands. Draw the knees into the chest to begin with. Staying here or lifting one foot for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lifting the other foot for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the knees for a moment. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling. Press your hands down so that you give yourself a little bit of a wrist relief here. And from here, we'll slowly find our way onto our sitting bones, into a seated position. If you want to make this a little bit easier for yourself, especially if you know you have a hard time with core strengthening exercises, then you can continue to use your bricks underneath the hands, which again will just give you a little bit of extra height that's helpful at the beginning. Otherwise, we'll use the hands on the floor to challenge ourselves a little bit more. We're going to have the feet at least shoulder distance. I would suggest slightly wider here. Hands in front of the torso. Now, what's important with all of these compression exercises is that the further your hands walk away from your torso, the harder it's going to become, as a rule of thumb. So I'm going to stay fairly conservative here in our first exercise and have the hands just in front. See if you can bend your knees all the way up towards your shoulders. You are allowed to let your spine round here, and then tap your big toes just in front of your fingertips. Press the floor away, and then as you exhale, extend your legs as much as you can. They don't have to straighten all the way. And we're going to do that for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and final one here. Release your legs, feet on the floor, knees bent. Have a little windscreen wiper of the legs to release any tension that's built up there. And then find your way into a wide-legged forward fold position. Frame your left foot with both hands, point the toes. Again, you pick your difficulty level. Easiest here, most difficult right by the ankle. Plant your fingertips into the floor, see if you can float the left foot. If that's worked out just fine for you, we're going to paint circles in one direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Opposite direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release that leg, switch over to the other side, frame the right leg, any difficulty level of your choice, and then see if you can point the right toes. Again, float the leg. If that has worked out, then from here, circling for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Opposite direction for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the leg, give them just a little bit of a shimmy out to release that tension. And we have arrived at our final exercise. So again, pick how difficult you want to make this for yourself, how much of a challenge you're looking for. I'm saying, again, fairly light here so I can talk you through it. Point your toes, and then we'll see if we can lift both feet off the ground at the same time. Let your spine round, press the floor away to lift the feet off the ground, and see if you can pulse the toes up here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lift a little bit higher, release your legs all the way down. And hands behind the sitting bones, allow your toes to sort of windscreen wiper left and right for a brief moment. From here, we'll take this into a little bit of an arm balance. So bend your left knee, draw the left heel towards your torso. The first variation of this that I'll demonstrate, I'll use the bricks because it'll be helpful for some of you, again, to get a little bit of extra height. It will require you to use compression similar to Asana in order to lift off. So the bricks will be really helpful here. We'll start by limbering into our right hip joint to kind of ease ourselves into this deeper forward fold. So bring your left hand to the sole of your foot. Right hand supports the back of your right knee, flex the toes very actively towards your shin, and then coming into rock the baby. So you're literally rocking your lower leg back and forth to ease into your right hip joint. Don't overthink it, just have a little bit of free play to maybe mobilize and paint some circles with the knee so that you're circling your femur thigh bone in your hip joint, and then circling in the opposite direction, just a few rounds. And once you've had enough from here, we'll straighten the left leg and point the toes. We'll see if we can hook the right elbow into the back of the right knee crease. Otherwise, if you're able to get your shoulder and shimmy it all the way under the calf, that's really helpful. Hands on the bricks or on the floor, go just in front of your hips, either side at shoulder distance, and then pointing through the toes, you're going to shift your weight forward into your hands. See if you can extend the elbows and lift off. If you're going all the way into your 8-angle pose, hook your left foot around the right and then press your feet away as you bend the elbows and shift your weight forward into the hands, into a chaturanga position, maybe taking the gaze to your big toes for your last breath or two. And then slowly descending the hips back to the floor once you're done. From here, we'll do all of that on the second side. So we'll bend the right knee so that we can rock the baby on the left side. Left hand supports the back of the knee joint. You're flexing the toes towards the shin. And then right hand supports the sole of the foot again, starting by just limbering into that hip joint very freely, moving the thigh bone, maybe having a few circles in each direction. And then eventually, when you're ready, again from here we'll start by straightening the right leg and pointing those toes. Then we can see if we can shimmy the left elbow under the knee or all the way bringing the calf on top of the left shoulder. Now again, if you're using bricks, then place them under your hands, and the hands want to go just in front of your hips at shoulder distance. And then squeezing the inner thighs in, you're going to point both sets of toes. See if you can shift your weight forward into the hands to lift off into elephant's trunk. And if you're making that transition, then hook the feet, shift your weight forward into your chaturanga arms, pressing the feet away, maybe smiling at your big toes in that 8-angle pose for the last couple rounds of breath. And then slowly descending your hips to the floor to unravel your legs. And you can have the hands behind your sitting bones for a brief moment to windscreen wipe the legs, catch your breath, whatever you need to do. From here, we'll slowly roll our way all the way onto our back body. And we'll close the practice with a back bend. So if you feel ready, then feel free to come into full wheel pose. Otherwise, we'll be doing half bridge. So feet hip distance, just under the sitting bones. Hands by the sides of the hips, palms facing down. As you inhale, press into your feet, press into your hands to send the knees forward and lift the hips, to lengthen the muscles in the front of the body. Optional to walk the hands under so that you can interlace the fingers, and then shimmy your way a little bit higher onto your shoulders, which allows you to press through the glutes and extend a little bit more towards the sky. Maybe closing the eyes, pressing the tops of the arms into the floor. Staying for our final few rounds of breath here. Gradually here, release your shoulders, release the hands, make your way all the way onto your back body, one vertebra at a time, descends to the floor, and then you straighten the legs here for a brief moment. You can have the hands on top of your belly. Allow the back body to rest into the mat. Allow your breath to settle back to its natural rhythm, letting go of any breathing practices that you might still be holding on to. 3 times here with the breath. We'll sigh it out with a soft ha sound as we exhale. So we'll take a deep, deep inhale together. Exhale. Deep inhale. Exhale. And one final time. Exhale to let it go. Bring your feet together at the front of the mat. Point the toes. Reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Lengthen through the entire body for a moment. Make yourself as long as you possibly can. On your exhale, draw one knee at a time into the chest. Hug the knees in. Round the forehead towards the knees to lift the shoulders and the head, giving yourself a counter pose to the back bend. And then release the shoulders and head back down. Have a little rock side to side. Massage the back of the body against the floor, maybe taking your head in the opposite direction to the knees. Yogi's choice here, you can either release your right arm back and then roll over to the right side with the left arm supporting you there, or you could have the hands under the knees, and we'll take a few rocks through the spine before we come up to a seated position, gradually making our way there. We'll meet sitting, either with the shins crossed or the feet in one line, one ankle in front of the other. We'll bring the palms to touch at the heart center in front of the chest. Bowing the forehead towards the fingertips, we use this final moment of practice to give ourselves a little brief thanks, a little bit of gratitude for showing up on our yoga mat, for dedicating this time to ourselves. And we'll plant our sankalpa here, our seed of positive intention, so that it allows us to feel a sense of guidance as we step off our yoga mat, and we use this energy that we have cultivated here and spread it out to whatever we choose, to the world around us, the people around us, our goals, our intentions. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, Yogi. So thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. I hope there were some interesting challenges in there along the way. Of course, let me know in the comments section down below how that went. And if you liked the practice and this video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and share it with your friends to spread the good word. If you wanted to find me anywhere else online, all of that information is in the video description down below. And otherwise, I hope to see you back on your mat very soon. Until then, Yogi, thank you so much.